At the Office, Cleveland's home for sports talk that never clocks out. From the latest headlines to heated debates, we're diving into everything sports. It's your hosts, Noah, John, and Erik.
Hello, Cleveland, and welcome into The Office, the show where we talk all things sports. I'm your host, Erik, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, John and Noah, and you can join us at The Office as well. Send us a comment on YouTube, Facebook, or X, or you can call or text the show at 216-260-3433. That's 216-260-3433. The Cavs had a great comeback win tonight. I think we're all a little bit on cloud nine. But to start, I want to know how you guys are doing. And Noah, I want to know what you're wearing.
Yeah, man. I'm wearing the future of the franchise Shedeur Sanders t-shirt, fresh from Dick's. Was not a sober purchase, but I'm riding with my guy. He's been my pick for the Cleveland Browns. I think he's a good fit, whether that be, the God scenario of him sliding in the draft, but I got to represent. And hey, if it bites me in the butt, it bites me in the butt. I got to have some faith in the Brownies a little bit, I guess.
You know what? I like the faith. Worst case scenario, you're going to be like one of those kids in South America that thinks the Chiefs won the Super Bowl this year. So no big deal if they miss. I'd keep wearing it. It's a cool shirt.
Yeah, I should have known that like the day Noah buys a t-shirt for Shedeur Sanders, his draft stock in Vegas goes from like even money to come to the Browns to like plus 850.
They are
John,
all about Abdul coming to us right now. I think it's just all smoke and mirrors, and we have no clue what those guys are going to do. But this isn't a draft episode.
Smoke and mirrors. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I love baseball. I'm glad it's back. Watching the Guardians. It wasn't the most fun to watch them against San Diego, but that's a good squad, and it's early. We got March Madness. We got draft coming up. We got Masters. Spring is in the air. It's good to be with you guys.
Yeah, it's good to have you with us. How about we just not throw to Tatis? He gets up to the plate, automatic walk, because, he is killing us, man.
It's not just us. He kills a lot of teams. He's made a career out of it, so we're not unique in that regard. He's going to kill somebody else this year, too.
Well, we have a great show tonight. We're touching on some Haslam ineptitude. We're touching on some Torpedo Bats. But first, as usual, we're going to start with 30-second takes. Noah is fresh from working the Cavs game. I think John and I both watched the Cavs game and watched that win. It was a good win. They went down early and then came back. But for 30 seconds, I want to do a heat check on the Cavs. I think I know what all of our answers are going to be, but they've had some ups and downs. They haven't really looked themselves. They had that 4-game skid, of course, and we touched on it a little bit during our live show. But they also just haven't looked as dominant in a lot of the games post All-Star break. So from an eye test perspective and what you're seeing, I want to know, are you concerned? I think I know the answers, but Noah, why don't you kick us off with 30 seconds and tell me if the recent display by the Cavs is concerning you at all?
Yeah, I'll start my timer because this is going to be quick. No, I've never been concerned. I never had concern. A West Coast road trip happens. You lose sometimes when you're not used to your elements. They hadn't practiced in like 8 weeks or something, like Kenny Atkinson said. They're fine. They're going to be fine. We're going to be fine going into the playoffs. They're just ready like we are to go out there and play what is meaningful basketball again, because right now what we're watching is not meaningful basketball. The Cavs are going to lock up the 1 seed, and that's my 30-second take.
I like it. Interesting. I think they're going to lock up that seed as well, but Boston has been on a tear lately, and
Boston just lost tonight, man. Boston just lost 2 games. Is the magic number, man.
But they did win like 14 of 15, and they play nobody. That said, I think we're fine, and I do think we have it locked. John, give me your take. Are you buying or selling the Cavs here?
I'm still buying. My conclusion comes in the same as Noah's, but I get there with some different calculus. I'd be nervous if they were still cooking like they were a month ago, because the big question is playoff collapse. We haven't seen this team show that they can do anything in the playoffs. Now that they're not even doing that, no, I'm not panicked. I don't think they'll not secure the 1 seed, but the Hawks, the JB Bickerstaff Pistons, the Bucks, the Magic, they're all right there. Like you said, the Celtics won 14 out of the last 15. If you say to yourself, yeah, nothing to see here, let's just move on, I think it's a little bit optimistic, if you will.
Yeah, and Noah, you could throw the timer up with me because it won't be long. I agree with both of you. I'm still buying the Cavs. If anything, if there was any concern, it's their defensive rating and efficiency. They're currently ranked 8th in the NBA. Compare that to Oklahoma City, who's ranked 1st. But on the other side of the ball, the Cavs are ranked 1st in offense. I think defense are things they'll clamp down when it matters come playoff time. I'm not worried about this squad at all, and I think they're still the best in the team to be beat, honestly.
I do think Boston and Oklahoma City have separated in the last few weeks. I don't think over the whole body of work that's true. But if you look at what have you done for me lately, the Cavs have taken a quarter step back, just enough to say, like, Oklahoma City and Boston concern me, and we got to get there. But I'm not panicked, like I said. I'm just like, oh, I wish they weren't playing like this right now, but we'll be all right.
Listen, I've said it from the beginning. If we're going into a series with Boston, a 7-game series, that's not an easy win. And I don't just guarantee a Cavs victory in 7 or less. I don't think it's a given. There's a reason that they were champions and are champions, and trying to defend that. They can stretch you thin like crazy. I think that's where DeAndre Hunter will help us definitely come playoff time. But their ball movement and being able to knock down shots is nearly second to none. Mm-hmm. Do they scare me? No, but I think it's a toss-up if we're playing in the Eastern Conference Finals against one another.
Listen, this team has shown all season that they are something special. There's other teams, one other team in my mind, that has shown that there's something special, and that is the Oklahoma City Thunder. We have had two fun games against that team. If I'm the NBA, and I mean like the overarching NBA, the organization of the NBA, the people who are trying to make money off of the sport of basketball.
Noah embodies the NBA now. The embodiment of the whole league.
I am the logo. I am the dribble man logo. That is the finals I want. Let's stop with this Lakers in Boston and the same story that we've done 1,400 different times. The most entertaining, the best on-court product they are going to get is if it's the Cavs and OKC in the finals, because I think it'll go the distance, and I think it'll be some entertaining basketball. I think this team is poised and ready. Will they make it there? Everybody has their hesitations. We are a Cleveland sports fan base, after all. This is a Cleveland sports show. Of course I have my hesitations. We always get bit in the butt. We're Cleveland, man.
Cleveland, yeah.
But if I would have to put my money on a team and confidence in a team, making it and doing it, this is the most confident I have felt in a very long time. And I'm talking since like 2016, and before that, who knows? So
I love the optimism. Listen, fellas, I want to move on, but since you brought it up, Noah, and proved to us, John and I always give you shit that anything existing before 2010 doesn't exist in your book. Since you brought it up, who is the NBA logo dribbling there?
It's Jerry West, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. All right. You got it. Yeah.
You did get it.
You scared me for a second because I thought that was just common sports knowledge. But anyway.
All right, guys. I want to move on. But first, at the office, we have ourselves a sponsor, and that sponsor is D&D Meadery. It's the finest mead in Northeast Ohio. Derek and Dominic are twin brothers that have a passion for craftsmanship, and they took that love for winemaking straight from their ancestors in Germany, and they brought it here to share with all of us. It's in their blood, centuries of tradition, bottled up for you to enjoy. And they're not just making mead, they're bringing an ancient drink back to life, one pour at a time. And let me tell you, I'm holding up here, this is their gold-winning honey wine right now. John will tell you, Noah will tell you, I will tell you, this stuff is the real deal. I've ordered a few bottles of these, and they disappeared very quickly. The magic wine elves took them away. It takes everything I have not to crack this show bottle open. I think I might and just put water back into it because it's that good.
It is excellent. I actually tried it with a little barbecue sauce, mixed it into a recipe. So you can go versatile with this stuff too. You don't just have to drink it. You could class it up. You could dress it down. You could put it in your favorite recipes. If something calls for wine, throw a little bit of this in there. I bet it'd be good with your vodka pasta sauce too. So yeah, give it a try.
Chef Sharp in the house. Here's the best part, guys. If you use the code @the-office CLE, it's a little confusing. So that's @the-office CLE. When you order, you'll get an extra 5% off your order. And if you order 2 or more bottles, you'll get this free shot glass with it as well. There it is.
My shot glass broke in the dishwasher, so
oh no!
Don't put it in the dishwasher. I'm very upset about it because it was my favorite shot glass, aside from my WWE SummerSlam shot glass.
No, just order 2 more bottles and get another shot glass. There's an easy
I'll
solution.
just steal Matt's because Matt just ordered some more as well, and he can give me his extra. I'll do it that way if I ever see Matt in person in the next couple months. But
Bingo. And like Tim said, put it in your coffee cup during work so people think you're drinking coffee. John pulls that trick with us almost every night. I don't know if it's a fake sip, real sip at this point. That one looked real. Listen, you get that free shot glass. Visit dndmeadery.org to purchase, or you can also find a retail location near you. You don't get that percentage off, but you can purchase it elsewhere as well. You must be 21 or older. Please drink responsibly. Gentlemen, we have a newer segment. We've only used it once so far, so why don't we dust it off?
We used it twice, Eric. You just weren't here. You were sick.
Fair. That's fair. Okay, apparently we used it twice. It's reserved for topics that require a bit more time than 30 seconds, but not necessarily a full segment. Hit it, Noah. That's right. It's thematically on theme, which is redundant, around the water cooler. And this around the water cooler, I want to talk Guardians baseball. We're through 6 games now. We're 2-4, along with the rest of the Central, ironically enough. But I want to know what you guys think. Have your predictions for the season changed at all? I know it's early, but we have a bit of a sample size now. Where are you guys at on the Guardians? Noah, you started 30 seconds. So John, give me your take.
Let me just answer a fan comment real quick, John, because Tim Lyons did ask, do they ship D&D mead out of state? And yes, they do. You can pay for shipping. Sorry, John, didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to get it in there before I forgot. Go ahead.
No, that's a good shot. I was going to actually reply to him in the thread while you were giving your take. So you checked one off my to-do list, but
apologies.
Like you said, it's too early. The first few games that we've seen of 6 wouldn't even equate to 1 football game, barely to 1 basketball game. But we've seen a sample size of 6, 1 in the division, 1 out, 1 National League, 1 American League. If we're going to do something silly, like do way too early takes, you do have a decent sample size across a couple of teams. It's a total flip for me. I don't flip my prediction. I still think that the Guardians will finish within a game or two of 500. But I have been intrigued by what's different. Last year, the bullpen was great, epically great. Their ERA was half a point lower than anybody else. No one was close. It was one of the best bullpens in recent Major League history. Class A only blew 3 saves all year. He already blew 1. He's only hit 3 or 4 batters in his career. He drilled a guy in the face, and our bullpen blew a winnable game in Kansas City. It's one that kind of got away. I think we had a 3-1 lead and ended up losing 4-3. On the other side, the offense has scored more than I thought. So when I'm looking at this team and thinking we got holes in the lineup, well, we plug the holes in the lineup, but starting pitching is a problem. Relief pitching has been a problem. I think they'll get the ship righted. I like Vogt and his leadership and his management of his staff. So I think that this time, 2 weeks from now, we might be having a different conversation. But did I think we'd get swept by San Diego? Like last year, you go into a series against the Padres thinking you're going to take 2 or 3. So it's early. No reason to press anything even close to a panic button or even worry about it for another few weeks. But it has been weird through the first 6 games with a 2-4 record, which is good enough for like a 4-place tie for first place.
Noah, I know you want to say exactly what I think you're going to say, which is a particular player's name. MVP shout too soon?
Oh, Kyle Manzardo? I thought you were talking about Bo Naylor because Bo Naylor's been pissing me off.
God,
I don't know if you guys watched the last couple games, but
Yeah.
no, Manzardo's looked fantastic as advertised in the Savali trade. Took his time to get up here, but I'm loving everything I'm seeing out of the mustached. I was trying to think of a rhyme and I couldn't come up with one off the top of my head. The mustached Butte. We'll just leave it at that. My biggest thing here is, so far, my biggest concern for the Cleveland Guardians has been pitching, and it has rang true throughout the first couple games of the season. You know, it is a 162 game season, so I'm very relaxed. There's plenty of time left. We're all tied for the AL Central with a 2-4 record right now. We played one of the best teams in baseball, the Padres, in our last series, and we took a series against a really good Kansas City Royals team. So, yeah, there's some concern. Yeah, I want to see them play better, but they've also shown a lot of that gritty fight that we loved to see out of them last year. And in terms of that type of thing, it seems like they're taking another step forward with a new batting coach and better plate discipline, some of these different kind of things. Let's just hope that the starting pitching of John Means and Shane Bieber comes sooner rather than later, because Luis Ortiz... 17 ERA, 17, not 7, because 7's even pretty horrible. 17 ERA, first start, Padres. I get it. Come on. We need better. Obviously, we need better than that. Erik, what are you thinking about the Guards thus far? I know you've been watching a lot of baseball.
Yeah, I have been. And honestly, I'm somewhere right in the middle of both of you guys, similar take. I think that, first of all, pitching will come. I'm not worried about the rotation at all. It normally takes a couple weeks to get settled in as a pitcher in the majors. And I know you'll say, well, look at this team or look at that team or this pitcher's doing just fine. That's not atypical. I think we'll settle into a good rotation. I'm not worried about anybody. I know you're calling out the 17 ERA. That they're playing a tough team, and what I saw in the Kansas City series, they're going to be just fine. They're hitting the ball. They're hitting the ball well. They're getting production out of just about anybody. Bo Naylor, I wish he had hit his weight this year. That would be a goal. But other than that, I'm not too dissatisfied. For the most part, I think we're exactly headed where we need to be headed, and a better sample size. Talk to me after 25 games.
Yeah, and I got to correct myself real quick. He had a 17 ERA at one point. He finished with a 13.5 ERA. Got to give him a little bit of credit there. Those 3 points matter, I guess.
What was his ERA at Pittsburgh? It was like 3 something.
3. It was 3.
Yeah.
He was really good, but I mean, you look at it too. You're playing at Pittsburgh versus a ALCS team. I'm just excited for opening day. We're less than a week away. I will be there, loud, proud, and all of the different colors, because I will have a couple of those adult beverages that me, you, and John both like to consume when we watch our sports. Never, right? I just think it's too early to tell at the end of the day, and I'm still excited to see some of the potential. We've seen some flashes of some things. Nolan Jones hasn't come all the way into form yet. At late season trade, getting used to being with the Guardians roster instead of the Rockies. There's so much potential with this team still, as there is with most of the AL Central teams. So I'm excited to see what is going to happen. We got a long season ahead of us. A lot of dollar dogs.
No White Sox.
Give me a second, man. Give me a second.
You guys still got me? I know we lost the video, but can you still hear me?
We can hear you, John.
All right, I'm going to power through it and keep fighting. I'm going to use my laptop camera if I can't figure this out here shortly. But question for both of you on something you brought up. You both talked about pitching. Erik, your comment was something to the effect of pitching will come. And Noah, you said, yeah, pitching is a question mark. When I look at competitive teams, the question mark is stuff like, can our right field platoon hold tight when all the other 8 starters are good? Or can we get good defense out of shortstop even though we're getting good offense? Pitching is a lot of the game. And if the question mark is all pitching, what does that mean about like our overall confidence and where this team can go? I think you're right. No, we'll get some starters back. It'll be better. But if all of pitching is a question mark, it could also be a really long season.
Well, we don't know 100% if all of pitching will be a question mark. I mean, we're talking about, a bullpen and a reliever who was bar none the best in the league last year. It's too early to tell if the bullpen's really going to be a problem or if Class A is going to take a step back or anything like that. I mean, we're talking 6 games, 4-2 or 2-4. I mean, we're tied with the White Sox right now in terms of first and second place with tiebreakers and all of that for the AL Central. There's way too much baseball left to really think about that. And I think the starting pitching will be fine as long as we can get Means and Bieber back and healthy. Another question mark I want to pose real quick, and then Erik, you can give your take, is second base. Because Arias, I watched last night's game. I didn't get to watch today's because of my Cavs game. Arias fumbled a lot of balls in the field, just trying to field balls in general, doing shifts and all of that. Right. So second base is a question as well. Go ahead, Erik. I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
You are rambling. Listen, we've talked about this, and we're going to wrap this up because this is water cooler, not a full segment. But we've talked about this when they made that trade. The little things will cost you ball games. And yeah, when you're getting beat 7-0, 7-2, a little error doesn't matter. Jose had an error today. I'm not sure it made a difference. It did score a run, but those things add up, and those little things will be the deciding factor between a lot of games. And that was part of my issue with that trade. You're putting this hodgepodge. I think Arias is a talented guy. He can play a lot of different positions. And, when Jose was hurt, for example, you don't really worry about him coming in and playing third. He's fine defensively. I think that'll be okay. As far as pitching goes, to answer your question, John, again, it's just too small of a sample size. I'm not saying there's a question. I mean, Bybee went out there and looked great against Kansas City. I'm not saying that there's this massive question mark hanging over our heads. I just think it's too early. I think it will come. It's not a matter of, we're waiting on so many people to get off the injured reserve. I think our bullpen will be just fine. And they were just fine without Bieber last year as well.
The behind-the-scenes narrative on Gabe Arias is that he's good enough being a pro and doesn't work all that hard. So I'm wondering if some of the errors and lack of focus mean that's why he's not a day-to-day player. The other thing is Jimenez is batting cleanup for the Blue Jays and already has 3 home runs. So anybody watching what he's doing?
I mean, again,
it's hit that well here.
No, he's
right,
hitting
and it's early still. It's early still. We don't know if that's 3 and then he's going to finish with 10 maybe.
Wait, why is Vlad Jr. not hitting cleanup? Where's he at?
Probably hitting 5th or 3rd.
That's interesting.
I don't know. Or maybe he's
real
not
quick,
healthy.
Erik, because I know you want to push us along, but Tim Lyons asked who's better, Josh or Bo. Y'all regret letting Josh walk. Josh is obviously better.
Josh is better, but I think we can make up for the production. I was never a huge Josh Naylor fan. Yeah, he hit like 33 home runs. He's kind of a clubhouse guy. I don't know. Something about him just I wasn't a huge fan of. I think we can make up that production with the guys we signed. And I'm actually, I know we made fun of it and he's like 50, but I've been excited watching Slam Tana back in a Guardians uniform.
Me too. I won't disagree with anything that you said there. I think you hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I do want to move on because I want to talk Browns. I want to talk Jimmy Haslam, specifically owner of our beloved Browns. He recently came out and said that the trade for Deshaun Watson was a big swing and a miss, and it got us thinking, how many other times has Jimmy failed this organization as an owner? And in a general sense, how do you guys feel about the Haslams as owners of your Cleveland Browns? I, for one, I was kind of taken aback that he said that about Watson and was actually putting all of the ownership on himself, him and D, for that decision. I thought that showed a measure of maturity that we've thus far lacked from the Haslams, as silly as that sounds. But I want to hear from you. John, why don't you lead us off on this one? How do you feel about the Haslams? And in a broader sense, how much they've screwed up in town?
Yeah, this is as complicated a question as it gets. I guess I'll start where I usually do with analysis. You said how many times it's quantitative. I'll go with 12 because they've owned the team for 12 years and we haven't done a whole hell of a lot. Listen, the narrative about the Haslams around the league is that they're meddlesome owners, worse than almost any, if not any, maybe barring Jerry Jones in the league. So when you look at when this team played poorly, Haslam's fingerprints were all over it from the time he bought the team all the way through some of the draft selections, some of the coaching selections. The Hugh Jackson, I think he was a big fan of. That didn't go well. You move from there to a point where he kind of learned his lesson and said, I'm going to quit meddling for a while. He said okay to Baker Mayfield, but didn't necessarily support it 100%. We put together a team that was within a game of the AFC Championship, gave the Chiefs all they could handle in Arrowhead. We've been down that road before. Then what does he do? Go, oh, man, we're really close. Let me meddle again. Let me get Deshaun Watson. Now, at the time, we didn't know it was going to pan out this poorly. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I said all the time, like, hey, this has to work. If you guys are the pros and you're saying this is going to work, it's got to work. It didn't. He had a big hand in bringing Johnny Manziel here. So when I look at what Jimmy Haslam has done, I think if he could get out of his own damn way, he'd be a lot better off. I like that he'll spend unabashedly. I like that we can get creative and have the highest payroll in NFL history. But for the highest payroll in NFL history, I would hope for more than 3 wins. So I think the majority of the blame for the entire history of his ownership is at his feet and his wife's feet. And I think if he would get the hell out of the way and let football people make football decisions, our team would be in a lot better spot.
Noah, I want to hear from you, but I want to jump in just real quick because everything you said is right. And yet I do think that it's the job of ownership to take big swings. Listen, here's the problem. And the problem is simply lack of accountability. If you are the CEO of Starbucks and your revenue's down and you need to make big decisions and you take a big home run swing and you go out and you buy Dunkin'. I know that's probably impossible, but bear with me. And that works out well, great. But if it doesn't work out well, you're probably gone as CEO of Starbucks.
Exactly.
The problem with the Browns or any organization in sports is you make this big swing and a miss and nothing happens. He's still owner. He's still that CEO role. I think that's the biggest problem. What's sad and what sucks for Browns fans is that they have a built-in revenue model that won't change no matter what. I'm a big fan of voting with your dollars, but it doesn't matter. We still go to games. We still buy gear. We still support the team. We're still going to show up in Brook Park. So accountability is key here. And I think you're right. That's where you let football people make football decisions, because if they make the wrong decisions, then there's some accountability. You can axe guys like Stefanski, Barry, etc.
I say it all the time. You're 100% right that taking big swings is the role of ownership, but taking a big swing and missing doesn't absolve you of responsibility. And
100%.
Yep, we're aligned.
And we have no recourse as fans. It's terrible. Noah, give me your take.
That's the worst part, is that the fans have no recourse except throwing a parade and being upset. John, you hit the nail on the head in terms of a lot of the points I was going to make when it comes to all of the blunders in his past. Hugh Jackson, 2016, 2017, it took halfway through the 2018 season before you finally fired a guy that lost the locker room 2 seasons ago. We're talking Johnny Manziel. I mean, hindsight's 2020. I was young at the time. I was excited to get Johnny because it was Johnny football, right?
It was some fun times.
But the writing was on the wall. Every NFL ownership group, GM, drafter, blah, knew this kid was going to be trouble in the league because of all of his stuff in college. Something you didn't mention, Freddie Kitchens. Freddie Kitchens, anybody? We hired an offensive coordinator because our quarterback and our GM liked him, even though he never was a head coach or had a lot of experience.
He was like a bad gambler, man. It's gonna hit this time.
You could go into the stadium. Some people could say the stadium is a blunder because they are moving the team from downtown. We don't have to go into the stadium debacle for the 13th time here on the page, but these are all examples of Jimmy Haslam being a failure to the fan base and the team, really. Deshaun Watson, the comment is the big point here. I am glad that Jimmy can stand at a podium and say, hey, I take blame and take the bullet in the back for Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski. That shows progress to me because we have seen in the past that Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry work. That being said, he needs to stop meddling. And if we're talking about meddling, there was a guy currently on his way to Oregon right now by the name of Jimmy Haslam that has been at every top recruit visit, every top recruit workout, every top recruit dinner. He's all hands in the pie right now. And I get it. I get when you're an investor and you have all of this money and thought process and stock into a team. I would probably be the same way.
Definitely. If the three of us won or purchased the Cleveland Browns, you bet your ass the three of us would be at every single. We'd be doing the exact same thing. We'd say, yeah, we're going to let the football people make football decisions. And then the three of us would get together and go, hey, what do you think about so-and-so? Should we push that for the draft? Of course we would do that.
So I might like respectfully disagree with you on that. I'd stay out of it. If I owned a team and hired a GM, I'd let him do his job. No.
When you have those billions of dollars, let's revisit this conversation because you're lying to your friends, the audience, and yourself with that comment.
No,
there's no chance.
I don't think money changes you as an individual. I manage teams at work. I'd say,
no,
do your job. I know you're going to say it's different, but if you think
it is different.
Pulling the trigger on draft day, I disagree.
Here's what you need to understand about being a billionaire. You are the boss and have been the boss through everything. You control things, and that's how you've become a billionaire through business, unless your last name's Vanderbilt. So as a controlling person that built $1 billion business, no way in hell are you ceding control.
They do it all the time. Most owners in the NFL do it. It's just not Jimmy. And you said, I love how you said too, you're like, hey, you got to understand this about billionaires. Like you're closer to that than me. Neither one of us get it.
No idea. But I was meant to be one. So I have some like internal insight. Something just went wrong. The wires
let me play devil's advocate for a second though here as well, just to gauge some reactions off of you guys, because I think Jimmy has done a better job in terms of his lack of meddling or lessening his meddling. One being, obviously being okay to spend money. I know that's a little less on the meddling side, but a lot of owners, shout out Tim Lyons' Bengals, don't like to or cannot spend money. And that is a huge bonus of having Jimmy Haslam as an owner. That is a positive for Jimmy. The second positive and a second situation that's recent to me that I think is a positive for Jimmy Haslam and a check in the good column is the Myles Garrett situation. Myles Garrett wanted to meet with Jimmy. Jimmy said, I'm going to let the football people do football things, and said, I'm not meeting with you. Fans hated it at first. Kind of makes sense in retrospect now because Myles Garrett is here to stay.
That's fair.
What do you think those point to in terms of Jimmy Haslam's progress as an owner, I guess? Or do you guys think it's still going to be much more of the same and we're going to end up forcing?
I think it was ego. I think it was all ego. I don't think doing the right thing for the wrong reason is still okay. But he didn't decline the meeting with Myles Garrett because he stopped meddling. He did it to be an asshole and prove a point, and it just worked.
And I didn't like that more for the overtones racially that like get in your place, do your job, I'm not meeting with you kind of thing. That really rubbed me the wrong way. If he had been like you guys are saying, if that's the modus operandi of Jimmy this whole time as an owner, great, but it hasn't been. So I don't know. I wasn't a fan of that.
I think the best organizations, though, they stay out. I don't, Bob Kraft with the Patriots. I don't remember who the owner of the Chief is because he doesn't make any news because he lets the football people do football stuff. Yeah, there you go. The best franchises to me seem to kind of let the chips fall where they may. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, these owners they show up in their loge and cheer on Sunday and let the football people do football stuff.
It's the whole thing is just frustrating at the end of the day because we've gone through so much as Browns fans, and this is a Browns town. As much as we love the Cavs and we'll talk about the Cavs and all of that, at the end of the day, this is a football city and a football town, and the fans, us included, at the office, deserve better. And I want to have hope that we're moving in a better direction. And the first step of that is admitting defeat on the Deshaun Watson thing. By the way, did you guys see Deshaun Watson responded to it?
No, what did he say?
I'll pull up what his caption on Instagram was in a second after I finish my take. But we just deserve better at the end of the day. And I hope us admitting this mistake is a step in the right direction to finally getting better and finally moving towards a place as a franchise that feels like the stability that we had in the early 20s. Jesus Christ, that's crazy to say, but the early 20s of 2020. Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this, because it came out recently, and this is me dropping a little bit of a bomb on the show. It came out recently that Jimmy Haslam basically said that he expects Myles Garrett to be a leader and that he's pushing Myles towards being a leader. It kind of came out that he wasn't much of a leader or locker room presence despite being a captain. What's your take, John?
I don't think so. Listen, you hope and you wish, and the ideal scenario is for your highest paid player and your most talented player to be your leader. But if you go into that situation thinking that just because someone is rich and talented, they are automatically born to lead or should lead, I think is a fallacy. A lot of teams have their best player being the captain. A lot of teams, it's not true. You look at the history of pro sports, I could list a lot of Hall of Famers who weren't great locker room guys, who weren't excellent leaders. Shaq was the best player on the Lakers, kind of a goofball. Allen Iverson wasn't somebody you could turn your franchise over to. Michael Vick was extremely immature. These guys are ballers who execute at the highest level on a regular basis. But I think that you have to look to who the natural leaders are. And sometimes you put the captaincy on somebody's chest because they've shown what it takes to be a leader. I don't have any problem, honestly, with Myles Garrett going, I'm God's gift to defensive line, and I'm not coming to this meeting on time or at all. It's not the best look in the world, but I don't think he's an evil human for doing it. But I think we put too much stake in saying, well, you're really tall and you're really strong and you're really fast and you're really good at football. You must be a leader. I wish he was. I think it would be a good look if he was. My fingers would be crossed for him to mature and do it. But no, I don't.
Let me jump in.
I don't think he should lead.
You say that it doesn't make him a bad human. First of all, that's filled with such hyperbole. No one's saying he's a bad human.
No, I didn't say you were saying that. I just, yeah, keep going.
But do I think it reflects somewhat on his character as a professional football player and teammate? A little bit. I mean, Noah will testify to the fact that, when you're a football player, it's about the guys next to you and being in the trenches with them. They relate it in speeches all the time to being like warfare. And the fact that he's not stepping up and leading, I think it's a little bit of a shame. I don't put that on him as a person. I think he's a good person. But if you have the C on your chest in particular, I think that there should be some value attached to that. There should be some leadership. Otherwise, he shouldn't be voted as captain. It's more of a formality, and I think that's bullshit.
I'm not going to get political, but I'm just going to say that being voted something doesn't mean you deserve the job.
Well,
listen, real quick, guys. Deshaun Watson's comment back was his caption today on his Instagram post, wearing Browns gear, working out, rehabbing in the facility. Maybe if I weren't built for this, I'd let it faze me.
Bro, you're not seeing a single snap. Barring a plane crash, you are done as a Cleveland Brown. You need to accept
You're
that.
done as an NFL quarterback, period.
Right.
I agree.
All right, guys. I do want to move us on, and we're going to take a quick break, but stay tuned because when we come back, we're talking about the new controversial bats that are sweeping the MLB. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to At the Office. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube and check us out on Instagram and TikTok as well. Shout out to Fans for Sports, our parent network. They have a lot of great shows. If you like what we do, then chances are pretty good you're going to like a few others on the network as well, so go check them out. Also, make sure you get in on the action and get some At the Office merch. If you watched our first live show, you might have seen some folks wearing our gear in the background. And if you want to be just as cool, head on over to attheofficecle.com. That's attheofficecle.com. There's going to be some new merch and styles on there soon as well, so stay tuned for that. All right, gents, I want to talk baseball again, particularly the new bats that are making headlines, and they're a bit controversial. But first, I want to give you a little background because we're talking about the Torpedo Bat. Now, this started in the early 2023 season when Aaron Leanhart, a minor league hitting coordinator with the Yankees, started asking hitters what they needed to perform better. League-wide batting average the previous year was at its lowest point in more than half a century. And he learned that hitters were obviously frustrated with the dominant pitching, and they wanted to make more contact. It should be noted that he's an MIT-educated physics professor. He was a professor at the University of Michigan, but he left the world of academia for that of professional sports. And after those conversations with players, he decided and determined that an increase to the size of the barrel of the bat, the sweet spot, if you will, that's what was needed to increase hitting. Makes sense, right? So they redistributed the weight, and what you have is a bowling pin or torpedo shape, which is the most significant change in bats since players replaced their ash bats with maple about a generation ago. Several players around the league have adopted them. And after debuting to start the season, the Yankees tied a major league record with 15 home runs over their first 3 games, 9 of those home runs coming from the Torpedo Bat. I want to know, what do you guys think? Is this good for baseball, or is this something that should be left on the scrap heap and banned?
Can I go first this time? Am I allowed?
Yeah, I guess I didn't pick somebody, but yeah, go ahead. Why not?
Okay. Listen, I get the volatility. Some people love it, some people don't. I'm on the side, honestly, of not liking it. If you were able to change your equipment in other sports, say get a smaller ball because your hands are smaller, because your technique is better that way. In basketball, people wouldn't like that. It's the same thing here for me. It's hard because I think of it one way like that, and I think of it another way like football. There's different size pads, there's different helmets that are better for different position groups. But when you're talking about players, like Ellie De La Cruz last night had career high 7 RBIs, 2 home runs of the season. I mean, we're talking monstrous, insane numbers. It feels quasi performance enhancing to me. Obviously, that's a big word or a big stretch because you think performance enhancing drugs. I'm just not a big fan of it. And there's also some other sides to it we're not talking about. Injury risk could be a thing because of the weight on the bat, on the wrists, elbows, shoulders, this, that, and the third. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it because I feel like it changes it too much. But on the other hand, I think it's good for the sport because we're watching people go yard and hit dingers left, right, and center, and that's good for the sport. What do you guys think?
I want to challenge you a little bit because there are rules to these things. In the rules of a bat, there's certain diameter restrictions, certain length restrictions. They stayed within those restrictions. This is the same length bat. They're just redistributing the weight differently. It's not like they're using different material or anything like that. It's using physics to make a better product. So I guess I don't understand why change is a bad thing. Would you have said, hey, don't change from ash bats? That's ridiculous, using a different wood. I just don't think that makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I just think something like this, I don't know. Maybe I'm being... First of all, let me answer this because if you can tell and you can hear my voice for those who aren't listening, I'm kind of in the middle on this and leaning towards it shouldn't be a thing. I don't think it's cheating right now because it doesn't violate any of the rules in the rule book. But does that mean that it should be banned is more so what I'm thinking of, which answers the question, is the Torpedo Bat bad for baseball? To me, it's giving an advantage to players that are... it's just so hard. It's giving an advantage, but it makes sense because it's a smart technique.
Before you say advantage, and John, I do want to hear your take real quick. Noah, I know you weren't a baseball player, but to hit a 98 mile an hour fastball believe me that the bat is a small part of that. There is still a lot that they need to do themselves, even though they're changing the sweet spot a little bit. And it comes down to more than just the bat in their hands. John, give me your take.
Yeah, you guys hit on a few things that are super interesting. This is going to be a good debate. To not bury the lead, I don't think it's bad for baseball. Now, there's a couple things you said, Noah. One, they could be wrong, but one of the things about this bat is that the physics of it make it feel the same to swing. So the risk of injury shouldn't be there. Doesn't mean it won't. We've seen stuff like this happen before. But the point of that sweet spot and how they distribute the weight is to say when you swing the bat, it feels very, very similar, if not exactly the same. Second, Erik, you're exactly right. There are rules. A bat in the major league shall be no longer than 42 inches. And the grip or pine tar, the stuff you put that hold on to it, can't be any more than either 16 or 18 inches. It's the width of the plate. If you watch the George Brett video and watch him put it down on, that's what that's about. So it's within the rules, and we don't have any evidence to say that it's more injury prone. For the youngest guy on the show, and one of the youngest guys I hang out with, this is the first old man take that you've had. This game has been stuck in 1928 for a very long time. And baseball is behind more than most. They put a whole ass 3-point line in NBA, and everybody said, oh, this makes it better. There's more scoring. They're going to use cameras and technology to call first downs this year instead of the chain gang. They change every other sport meaningfully every single year. And baseball is one of these ones that goes, well, should we start the extra innings with people on base? And should we have the pitchers bat? It took them 40 years to figure out to have a DH in the National League. They're old, man. I think it's technology. The other thing you got to know about baseball is with wooden bats, there's never any restrictions on shaving and stuff. You can't cork it. You can't unscrew it in the middle, hollow it out. But the cup on the end of the bat was to shave a few ounces. You can shave the handle as thin as you want. Now you're going to break a lot of bats and you're not going to get a ton of power. But finagling the wood shape on the bat is actually an inherent part of baseball. They just haven't had a meaningful development in a long time. So I view this as a nod to the engineers. I've never heard a single solitary person come home from a baseball game and say, man, that sucked. Too much offense, too many home runs. I wanted to see a pitcher's duel today. It's not bad for baseball. They put a pitching clock in there. They do all kinds. They have bigger bases. I think they let it go. I think if everybody can use it, either you can use it or you don't want to. But I have absolutely no problem with the torpedo bat, and I don't think it should be banned at all.
My take is the exact same as yours. And the reality is baseball is at a crossroads right now because, yes, it is the national pastime, and there is something to be said about the legacy of it and the history of it. But it's also falling behind other sports. And part of that is it's a long game. They've taken steps, like you said, John, to address that. And I think they've been wholly successful, frankly. This is just another evolution. I was a pitcher. I like a good pitching duel and a pitching matchup. But you're exactly right. The more offense, the better. And when I think back about watching baseball as a kid, there's maybe no bigger moments than the Sosa McGuire, thank you.
And Bonds. Chase, don't forget about Bonds in there late too.
Chase to go after Roger Maris. And that was at the height of the steroid era. It's fun. It's fun to watch. More offense is better. What it means for baseball, I think it's nothing but good things. And I, for one, Tim said Quan is using it. And he's batting like 500 right now, or he was anyway. I mean, bring it on.
Yeah.
It's just, I keep going back and forth on it, right? Because Tim makes a good point in the comments. And by the way, it was Luke who said that Quan's bat was altered, just to give credit where credit is due. Tim said, now let's ban the rugby tush push, which makes me think of my thought processes on football. And I think it's stupid that they want to ban the tush push. So...
No way. An offensive lineman likes the tush push. Get out of here.
Right. So it makes me go back and forth because it feels like it's an unfair competitive advantage to players that aren't hitting the ball where every other person's bat is. But at the same time, it's good for the sport. It's what makes me keep going back and forth with it. I agree with everything you guys are saying, but it also still feels unnatural. And maybe that's me just feeling like a baseball fan in general and how all baseball fans are about not wanting change or not wanting to see XYZ happen in the game, even though I was also a fan of the pitch clock and the man on second. So I don't know if it's because it's equipment based and it's giving people an advantage that they didn't have before that's bothering me.
I think it's mental, though, a lot of it, because, listen, Francisco Lindor's using the bat, too, and he's batting 067 right now. I mean,
That's true.
You still got to hit the ball. And I think we're discounting it that one of John's favorite sayings that I like a lot is the guys on the other side get paid, too. Yes, it's a bit of an evolution, but the pitchers, they have a lot to do with this too, and the catchers calling that game matters. They know and they study those hitters coming up. Yeah, Tim, that's how you're going to get some deaths real quick.
Screw it. Let's have MLB use aluminum bats. We're going to watch murder on the baseball field if that happens.
I'm going to stand in the cemetery and catch fly balls.
Idea. Yeah, I love the idea for the home run derby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now we're talking business now, John. I'm in on that as well.
You're gonna have to have it at like San Francisco every year, though, so that it can go into the water. Listen, I'm all for it. I would even be for allow pitchers that now to use a little more substance. I know that would be even more controversial, but why not up the ante on the other side of the ball at the same time? And see who's going to win this duel. Let them do whatever they want.
I think I love it.
No, that's what I think is a good example, though, because we're banning some of this stuff that gives pitchers the advantage, and
but
maybe
those have
that's
always been banned.
Okay, but you know what I mean. It's gotten doubled down on and bid on harder as of late. I don't know.
John's right though. Your take is so like, why don't we get rid of lights? Because baseball was never intended to be played under the lights. I mean, that's the game evolves.
And that's what
my take isn't.
Let's go back to the wing. Go ahead, Noah.
Thank you. My take isn't fully on the side of it being a bad thing. I'm just flirting with the idea of like it feels unnatural. Like I'm not deeply rooted in that. I want to make that very clear. I like that it's making the game more exciting. I like that it is having some of these unreal moments already, and it's helping batters who have some issues or whatever, but it just doesn't feel natural to me. I don't know.
Yeah, but in a game that banned the shift and banned infield players from standing in the outfield, those are big changes. Those are things that they've done for many, many years.
Think about your own sport that you love and how many changes they've made. My dad played tight end at Benedictine at Miami of Ohio. Played tight end. He's 6'9". He caught 7 passes his entire career because the tight end back then just was offensive lineman who moved. They used to have 4 guys in the backfield and run the power T and the power I. Do you know what a spread offense looks like to my dad the first time he saw it? Weird.
Oh, I'm aware.
Doesn't mean we should ban it. And like it's legal, so do it.
My stepdad was a wing T guy growing up, playing right guard and left end.
Hey, since I think we've kind of closed that discussion, but since we're talking football now, there were a couple rule changes announced today, and I want to touch on them briefly with you guys. The tush push, they decided to push down the line. They're not going to vote on that. But the bigger rule change comes once again to kickoffs. So kickoffs, if you kick the ball into the end zone, if it's a touchback on a kickoff, the ball will now be placed at the 35-yard line, moving it up 5 yards from the 30-yard line. The idea, of course, is to discourage people kicking it out of the end zone. They're trying to encourage the new kickoff where you actually have a chance to run it back. I'm curious what you guys think, and will we see it move even further in the future?
So this is funny to me, John. I know I'm going back to back first, so I'm sorry, because I like it because it makes the kickoffs better. So maybe I should just get over the torpedo bat hang up and just jump full blown on the side of, yeah, it's a good idea, let's roll with it. I love it. Why not make kickoffs more fun? Because I remember growing up watching Josh Cribbs thinking he was the coolest thing since sliced bread because he was returning a kick here, there, and everywhere.
He was amazing.
Listen,
buddy,
I got an incoming call coming over here, so give me 1 second.
I will say, I don't know if Noah can hear me, but one of the signs of maturity is being able to acknowledge your own hypocrisy. So I do want to give him some credit there. John, what's your take on it?
Same as Noah. They did all this stuff to make the kickoff safer, and then they made it safe by doing the, kickoff team and the receiving team lining up 10 yards apart way down the field. I say you back up the kickoff 5 yards like it used to be. I think it's at the 35, put it back to the 30 to give the kickers a little bit more mobility to like boom it, but still land it in the zone. But I have absolutely no problem with that. I think it's a great rule. We made the kickoff safer for the high-speed collisions. Now let's see some returns.
I agree. I mean, make it where if it's a touchback, they get it at the 40. I mean, make it so that you, as a kicker, your mandate now, do not kick it out of the end zone, because you're going to have an offense starting at the 40 or 45-yard line. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
What other rules? So they talked about tush push and that kind of thing as well. So there was the kickoff was the main one. Tim was calling in.
The other big one.
Tim was calling in, by the way, to talk torpedo bats. So Tim hung up since we switched topics at this point, but he could have stuck around. It was fine. The bigger one was what? I'm sorry.
The eagle eye. So NFL announced an interesting addition. From now on, the chain gang will act as secondary, and an eagle eye system that is produced by Sony. You might be familiar if you watch tennis. It very accurately will tell you if a ball is in or out or hits the line in tennis, and then you have the little zoom in and you see the shadow, and it's like, that far off the line. It's really incredible technology. The interesting part of it is not measuring first downs. What it's doing is measuring based on the ball placement of the ref, whether or not it would be a first down. So the ref is still spotting where that ball will go. He'll place that ball, and then if it's this close, instead of the chains coming out to measure it, the eagle eye system will automatically do it. I think it would be better if it measured ball placement for every play, and it told the ref, hey, it should go in the 42 and 6-inch line, whatever. But I can understand why they're limiting it. I think this is just the start.
I think the technology is an issue. Not that it doesn't work, but in tennis, nobody touches the ball, and even the rackets are like 90% transparent except for the string. So you could see every second of the ball with these cameras placed everywhere. If you get a tush push, none of the cameras can see the ball. So there's going to be real hard, even if you see a little piece of it at one point, to say, yeah, it's a first down. I didn't know this until you just said it, so I'm glad this is how they're using it. They're basically just saving all the time to call a timeout, bring on the chain gang, and stretch the stuff out with an estimate. They can say
it's also inaccurate.
Which is, oh my God. I worked chain gang at a Lakewood high school football game. It's a complete, I thought it was better than it was. And then I did this for a game. I was like, this is a shit show.
It's a complete joke. It's a joke. If you're just guessing, and that's coming from King Football Purist himself. Tim made a good point of seeing when it would happen in baseball. I don't get why we don't all accept at these pro levels. I'm really contradicting myself at this point. Okay, I'm in on the torpedo bat. I'm going to leave it there. Accepting the technology that's out there for this type of thing, making calls better, that kind of thing. You can have an ump and have a check. They do it a little bit in the MILB right now, the minor leagues. They do this. This is a initiative that the commissioner is doing down there to hopefully one day bring up to the majors. I don't get why it's not a system.
The whole check system, just have it call. Listen, the main issue is that a strike zone is different for every batter. It's not a standard strike zone. I know they put the same box when you're watching.
So super quick, they change it.
Okay.
If you look at Aaron Judge's box and you look at what's the short dude from the Astros, the shortstop.
Jose Altuve.
Yeah, they're. I mean, it almost doubles in size. But continue.
Okay, good to know. So my point is that's the biggest issue. But I think that they create a custom strike zone for every player in the MLB, and they have it done by whether it's AI or however they do it. have it done. I don't care if there's an ump behind the plate and he still wants to do his. That's fine. Keep doing that. Have an earpiece, though, where it's called by someone else, because the strike zone, I mean, trying to watch that one game against the Royals where the inconsistency, that's the worst part of an ump, by the way, especially if you've played baseball, you know this. One that they call a strike for one pitch and a ball for another pitch is infuriating. Infuriating. And we were talking in the group chat on how I would have lost my shit at some of those calls that led to runs because they were so bad. We're at a point where just have technology call balls and strikes. You can still have the ump back there. You can still pay them. I don't care about any of that, but it's ruining games. And for the sake of fandom and wanting to make the game better, you've got to make that change.
I'm with you.
100%.
Interestingly enough, real quick, because you talked about the system in minor league, which is a challenge-based system. I want you guys to give me a guess. You might already know this, but challenging pitches, balls or strikes, you have catchers, you have pitchers. Who was the least successful in challenging a called ball, for example?
Wait, ask it again. You're asking which
pitcher throws a pitch, umpire calls it a ball. The catcher or the pitcher can challenge that call. They think it was a strike. Who was least successful in challenging balls and strikes?
Bo Naylor. I have no idea.
No, I'm sorry, not as a position. Like, was a pitcher more or less successful than the catcher challenging?
I would think the pitcher or the catcher was less because it feels like a trick question.
Yeah, I would say the same thing because they frame and they do all kinds of stuff.
The pitcher was way less successful in challenges. They would challenge and say, I threw a strike, way off. So it got to the point where teams were banning pitchers from allowing them to challenge.
The other thing that's interesting about the strike zone too, with the challenging, where this AI can actually help, or this eagle eye system, the strike zone is defined as the entire plate, not just the front. It's not like a plane in football where if you break the goal line. Now, this doesn't happen very often, but I see it a dozen times a season just across the games that I watch. Somebody who's a slower thrower who has a nasty curveball, it actually comes into the zone where you see the box, outside of the box, but still curves across and cuts into part of the strike zone in the plate. And that's the kind of stuff, too, where it's like, that's a strike by the rules and how the game is intended to be played. But people think it's where the ball is when it crosses the front of the plate. It's any time it comes through the zone. So there's all those kind of nuanced things that, you know, a pitch comes in, it happens high, too. Somebody throws a 12-6 curveball. It comes in just a little bit above that box, but zooms in down through the zone. That's a strike. And those are calls that you never see called.
Have you guys ever umped behind the plate before?
No.
It's been a long time, but I have.
It was your experience the same as mine, because it was one of the more challenging things I think I've ever tried in my life. It is not easy to see and call balls and strikes.
No, it's and if you think it's hard when you're 12 and somebody's throwing 62 miles an hour, get behind the plate when Emmanuel Clase is revving up and feeling good when the weather's warm and he's throwing 102, and tell me that ball was a ball or a strike right at the letters at the top of the zone. It's tough. That said, Angel Hernandez is still an asshole. Like, there's still really bad umps who suck. But you're right. It's tough. It's tough.
Gentlemen, I want to wrap us up, but first we have one of our favorite segments, which is hot takes, final thoughts and takes. Noah, I'm going to let John start with hot takes. John, give me your hot take.
There's a few, but
you get one.
I know. I'm trying to debate which is which.
I could already be done at this point, man.
My hot take is going into the thanks, Noah. Going into the NBA playoffs, don't go in with cautious optimism. Root for the team and love them for what they do. I've said this one before. It's been a long time, but my brother-in-law and I used to always debate when LeBron was here. He'd be like, I just want to get to the finals. I'm like, dude, you got to enjoy the ride getting there because you don't know what happens in the finals. You only get 7 games. So I think that the Cavs will push the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think we have a chance to make the finals. And if we get there, we have as good a chance as whoever meets us to win it. But we could struggle with Orlando again and lose to the Hawks we just don't know. So when you're watching this basketball, we all have high expectations. We all want to see the Cavs go all the way. But remember to enjoy every game and every possession because the season will be over before you know it, even if we win a championship. So go into this playoff season with an open mind and just be there for the ride.
Can I go next? Because mine's a foil off of this.
Yes, you can go next. But I just want to say I really hope we do make and win the finals, obviously as a fan, but also the last Game 7 was on Father's Day. And I did not watch with my dad. I came downtown, which was great. No regrets. But he still gives me shit to this day for that. And I promised him this year, if we make the finals, I'll watch every game with him, even if I have to drive back an hour to do so in the middle of the week. So here's hoping we can close it out. Noah, what's your final hot take?
Yeah, I loved all your hunky-dory bullshit over there, John. But it's time to talk NBA Finals and the Cleveland Cavaliers. If and when it happens and the Cavs, I'll stick with if because I don't like jinxing myself. I just had to throw a shot. The Cavs get to the point where they are the team that is awarded a Finals MVP, and I'm wording it this way for a reason to, again, not jinx the team. If it gets to that point, my thought process is the Finals MVP of your 2024-2025 Cleveland Cavaliers will be not Donovan Mitchell, not Darius Garland, one unicorn, Evan Mobley. That's my hot take. I can die on the hill because it might not even happen, but that's my hot take as of right now.
Evan Mobley for Finals MVP is a hot take. You understood the assignment.
Yeah, right. A+. For me, I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves because it's not even playoff time. And my UConn women, I'm repping the Paige Beckers jersey today. They have a Final Four game this Friday. I was nervous going in, seeing the schedule, knowing that we were going to play USC and then, or likely face USC, and then Juju Watkins went down. And my immediate reaction was twofold. The first part of it was that is such a shame because I don't know if you guys watch a lot of women's college basketball, but Juju is unbelievable. I won't want to say likely, but she very much has a chance to break the point scoring record that Caitlin Clark just set that took years to break. That could be Juju in a couple years' time. That's how good she is. She's a good kid too. She's a force to be reckoned with. So I wish her well, and I'm really bummed that she was injured. My second thought was
don't talk to Jaden Daniels.
Wait, Erik, you told John he was only allowed to have one, and we're moving on to your second thought.
No, this is the whole take though. It's a second thought on the
whatever,
take.
Man. Yeah,
my
whatever,
second
man.
thought when that happened, it's still about UConn. My second thought was, well, that kind of clears the way for my Huskies. Paige Beckers had a 40 piece the other night. She is one of the best in the game as well. And don't forget the other ones on that UConn team. Sarah Strong. I mean, they are such a Oriema is, for my take, the best coach in women's basketball.
I think he's the best coach in all of college basketball, but keep going.
That might be true. I'm so excited. They play UCLA. That is not a gimme by any stretch. Interestingly enough, every Final Four team this year, for the most part, is like a 1 or 2 seed in both men's and women's, which is kind of crazy. But I just wanted to rep Paige and say go UConn.
That was cute. I'm happy for you, man.
I watched more women's college basketball this year than men's. I haven't watched much of either, to be fair, but I've watched more women's games than men's.
The men are fun to watch and they're so athletic, but the women's game is just so pure at that level. You can really see, I don't know, it sounds crazy, but freak athleticism doesn't like change the game. You know what I mean? You still need to run your offense, and it's a little slower, obviously, but I enjoy it a lot. All right, gentlemen, any final words or takes before I end the show?
I'm good.
I just want to say, if you've ever questioned our dedication and commitment to this show, mid-show, I was having leakage from the ceiling in my apartment building. I have some water droplets on my desk. I hear some droplets behind me.
Oh,
And
God.
we stuck through this thing. It isn't by any means anything crazy. I would have definitely left. If it was a, I'm going to ruin my laptop type of situation. But the dedication is there. We appreciate you guys tuning in. And we love all the support. Thank you to everybody who came out to Martini's last week as well. That was dope to see everybody in the merch doing their thing, hyping us up.
No, I know
Speaking
what kind of
which-
damage you do to your toilets and your pipes in that building on a regular basis. You probably had it coming.
Where did that come from? Jesus Christ. Okay.
Man, all right. Speaking of martinis and a live show, we teased that would be the first of many. So I want to leave you guys with another tease, and all I'm going to say is Sprechen Sie Deutsch. On that note, thank you for watching and joining us at The Office, which is sponsored by D&D Meadery. Don't forget to subscribe or hit that download button if you're listening to the audio-only version of our show. Check us out on all of our socials, which is at The Office CLE. The debate never ends, but the show does for now. We'll see you next time.